Dear Ed, thanks for your kind note. All is well. I'm not Assistant Director for Public Affairs for the Bureau of the Census. This means that I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Public Information for the Bureau. It's one of the most interesting assignments of my career. I like the job a great deal. It is a career government assignment. To fill you in, as your letter indicated, I left ABC News, Washington Bureau about 3 years ago, on the very best of terms. I had for 11 years been on the road covering stories, an average of 8 months per year. I had come close to getting killed 5 or 6 times, and my wife used to get petrified at times. I spent 6 months in 1965 in the Dominican Republic covering that bloodbath. Much of 1966 covering the war in Vietnam, made an honorary corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps at Da Nang in April of that year for making 12 straight landings with the Corps and helicopter attacks on the VC. All of 1967 I spent on the road covering racial unrest in all parts of the nation. I got to know Martin Luther King very well, and I made the famous march across the Mississippi with him and Stokely Carmichael, whom I also knew very well. Also Rap Brown very well. I got slashed and stitched up in a race riot in Atlanta, and 2 days later I was on my feet for 2 days and 2 nights when Newark blew. My wife said she couldn't take the strain, so I asked to see Elmore Lower, president of ABC News, and asked him to let me out of my contract. He said okay. I did not wish to remain in ABC, because I would eat my heart out seeing the other guys going out to cover the stories. I took a high-paying job as a speechwriter for Ford and Lee Iacocca at Ford Motor Company. It was an ivory tower existence, and I am a street fighter, so I couldn't stand it. I quit after 2 years and returned to Washington in this job. I left Ford on the best of terms. I simply told them I had Potomac fever. It's a great company, perhaps the best in the world. What has happened to me? Well, I've been in jail in a half a dozen countries on various charges, all on assignments. I was threatened with death by the OAS in Algeria and had to leave the place. Time had a big write-up in 1962. Covered the war in the Congo, and my best friend, Henry Talon, was killed there, nearby my drunk Congolese troops. His dad was ambassador to Switzerland. Was the first correspondent to interview Ben Bella when he returned to Algeria. Went to the town of my boyhood dreams, Sidi Bel Abbes, in western Algeria, the home of the Foreign Legion, and wept. It was filthy. I interviewed Pope John, got to know him very well. Interviewed Pope Paul the night Jack Kennedy got killed, and this has never been done before or since. Still write to Pope John's secretary, Don Loris Capavilla, bishop in Chieti, Italy now. Was offered contracts to write several books, but never wished to. If I ever wrote them, I would tell the truth, and that would hurt and serve no purpose. I was in the room with Gene McCarthy in Los Angeles when Bobby Kennedy was killed. We still write to one another. I don't see him anymore, but are still friends. And now, off the record, the New York Times has nominated me to receive this year's award at American University. Here is the Outstanding Government Public Info Officer of the Year. That is considered good and bad. But I am happy because my wife is happy, and our 4 boys know their old man has been around. Regards, Jack.